Good afternoon. So I figured I'd make some vodka sauce now so that when we eat later on it's ready to go. So let's get to it. Had to improvise a little bit because I did not have whole canned tomatoes. I only had crushed, so it might go a little bit quicker. So I'm going to skip the step of going into the oven. The oven was really to help break down the tomatoes, and then you would use an immersion blender, which we'll still use, but the pieces won't be as big. So with vodka sauce, key ingredient is vodka. So we are big fans of Tito's. We like Kettle One, Grey Goose. So we're going to use a whole cup of this, but it will cook off, so don't worry. That's what gives it the flavor, okay? So I've got 2 cans of crushed tomatoes instead of whole peeled tomatoes. If you're using the whole peeled tomatoes, you don't have to drain it, but you can. But being that it's going in the oven, it has a lot more time to cook off that extra liquid. But if you're not going to put it in the oven, drain it, okay? But these don't need to be drained because they're already kind of pureed. You know, they're kind of together. Okay, we've got about a medium onion, about 2 cups, not even, okay? I've got a couple of garlic cloves because they were kind of small, so it calls for 3 garlic cloves. I'm going to just do this one real quick. If you don't have our garlic prep tool, I don't know why, but I don't even chop it up anymore. I don't mince it. I always use this tool because it comes out perfect. That little silicone roller takes the peel right off, okay? I like to cut the ends off, and if there's any yucky pieces, I'll cut those off too. Now, if you have a big garlic clove like this guy, I also cut him in half because I don't want a billion long pieces of minced garlic, right? So the garlic tool has mincing on this side, slicing on this side, and then also this bottom piece here fits on top of the holder, and you can do like a paste, okay? So you want to keep the side open that you're using. So we are going to be using the minced part, and all you do is put your garlic in and press down. So I don't know why, but I literally use this little guy 4 times a week, especially when I need minced garlic. And then what I do, if I'm not going to cook with it right away, I'll put a little bit of olive oil on top of it so that it doesn't dry out, okay? So again, this is about 3, it's supposed to be 3 decent sized cloves of garlic, okay? So we're gonna just do this kind of little prep here, and then I'm gonna bring it over to the stove. This is a really super easy sauce, and it does take a little while to cook. So I will come back to the second part once I do the immersion blender. Now the immersion blender, if you don't have one, you could put it into a regular blender. There we go. Get all those little guys out of here, and there you go. You've got minced garlic. We'll clean that. All right, so what was I saying? I forgot. But anyway, I've got I don't know, maybe 1.5 tablespoons of fresh basil from my plant. Always remember to wash your fresh basil or any fresh herb that you're using, because you don't know what buggies get on it outside, and you don't want to be putting that into what you're cooking. So I layer them, roll them up, and just do thin slices, and we were going to put this at the end into our sauce, but we're not going to use that right this second. But I want to get everything prepped, because if you know me, I like to have all my ingredients measured out mostly and ready to go so that I don't forget anything, and it just makes cooking so much easier. All right, so what is your favorite sauce to make? I do make, my Italian sauce often. You saw my bolognese sauce the other day, but when I go out to restaurants, I actually prefer vodka sauce. For some reason, once they add the cream, it kind of mellows out the acidity, for me anyway, of the sauce. So I prefer, that one don't look good, I prefer vodka sauce. And you don't want to put the cream in till the very end because you don't want it to overcook and kind of curdle as shit. But, alrighty, so this is all set. I'm gonna move you over. I've got a 1/4 cup of olive oil in my Dutch oven already. So let me get you guys positioned and we'll get cooking. Ooh, it's getting too hot. Look at that, because I'm talking too long. So hopefully you can see this. It's gonna sizzle, unfortunately, because we were talking. So we're starting out with our onions and our garlic, okay? So let's get that out of here. And back up, because it's gonna sizzle. I just cleaned this darn oven. I feel like that's all I do. Alright, so we got our garlic in there. We're gonna put our, we got our onion in there. We're gonna put our garlic now. And we're gonna set the timer for 5 minutes, and I'm gonna lower this heat because I already see it starting to sizzle. Alright. There we go. So, we're just gonna cook this down. I have this really super low right now because I probably should have started it once we were closer. Okay, so we're gonna let that cook down, and hopefully you guys can see this. All right, so once this cooks down, we're gonna add, let me see here, we're gonna add some pepper flakes and oregano. Now dried oregano is better in this because this is gonna cook for a while, and you don't want the fresh stuff in here now because then it'll just wilt. So we'll put the fresh basil in at the end, but we're going to use dried oregano now. And if you don't like oregano, just leave it out. But I do like the taste of it. And pepper flakes, we're just going to put like a little sprinkle because Rob and I can't have hot stuff, and this is too hot for us, but we want it to have some flavor. So I'm just going to put like a little sprinkle. All right. Let this just cook down a little bit, soften up our garlic and our onions, but you want to be careful you don't burn your garlic. So keep moving it around. If it looks too hot, lower it. Okay. And we're almost done. And then we'll put our vodka in, and it'll cook down. Put everything else in, and then we're just going to let it cook for a little bit. Even though we're using a crushed tomato, it's going to cook much faster than the whole tomatoes. It doesn't have to break down as much. And then we'll just use an immersion blender to smooth it all out. And then we'll add our heavy cream and basil. And that's pretty much it. I did get some, let me get it for you, some fresh pasta at Detweiler's. Let's see here. I got fresh, it says rotini, like the little corkscrews, but it's fresh. And my pasta maker doesn't do this, so we've got that. And we've got some garlic bread, or actually garlic toast, and it'll be a quick, easy meal for tonight. I'm debating on putting some sausage into this as well. I really just love the taste of the vodka sauce. This is the Barefoot Contessa Ina, her recipe, which I really like. One second. Excuse me. All I do is sneeze lately. Alright, so I think this is about done. So I'm going to add my oregano and mix it up. Okay, and then just a little sprigs of crushed red pepper. Okay. By all means, put a lot more if you like a more spicy sauce. We used to like spicy, but we can't have it anymore. Okay, so when that buzzes, I'm going to put my vodka sauce in. Okay, this is our Dutch oven, and it's really great for doing bread, chilies, sauces, anything big, and it retains the heat really nicely because it's enameled cast iron. It's kind of heavy. It does have a lid, can go from the stove top to the oven, but I like to use this for my sauces because it's nice and deep. Okay. Then we're going to add in our vodka. And you're going to cook the vodka down until it's about half, okay? So that's about 5 minutes or so. and step back just in case. There you go. So that's a cup of your favorite vodka. And this will help also deglaze the pan, get any of those little bits off from the onion and garlic. Who here likes vodka sauce? Who's on? Hey Wendy, hi Cher. Sherry, I'm sorry, I can't see far. I thought it said Cher. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this. Super easy. If you want the recipe, I'd be happy to share it. She does put the sauce after we get to that last step of putting in the sauce part. She puts it in the oven for like an hour and a half. Again, get the crushed tomatoes, and you don't have to keep it in there as long, okay? So we're gonna just cook this down. I'm gonna raise up the heat a little bit so it starts cooking down. And I like to put the spoon down the center to kind of eye it and see where it is now so that I can see when it's starting to cook down. Okay, and then, let's see. That's a loud timer, huh? So if you were using the crushed tomatoes, what they want you to do is I would put it in another bowl and kind of crush them up a little bit with your hands and then put them in your pot, because you don't want to try to crush them with your hands in the pot because it's super hot. And then pour them all in, and then we'll add a little bit of salt and pepper, about 2 teaspoons of salt. It says a pinch of pepper. I put a little bit more than that. And that's at the point where you would start putting it in the oven, which we're going to skip. Once it cooks for a while, then we will add you want to start between 1/4 cup to a cup of heavy cream, just to lighten it up, and it kind of makes it a lot richer, and then you will put your basil in. And that's it. So super easy. I just want to get this done and I can reheat it later, so dinner will be really super easy. Did you guys catch my video this morning with the roasted red pepper and goat cheese egg muffins? They were delicious. You can fill them with whatever you like. I highly suggest making them. It was start to finish 15 minutes. And now I have some quick breakfasts for the week that I can just grab and go, instead of eating stuff that's probably not good for me. Okay, this is cooking down nicely. So give it another 1.5 minutes or so. Then we'll start adding our sauces, and I'll salt and pepper. And let's see, being that we're not putting it in the oven, I would say we're going to cook it for about 30-40 minutes with the lid on, like cracked a little bit, and then I'll take that immersion blender and put it in just to smooth it up. Then I'll add my heavy cream and use the immersion blender maybe one more time just to incorporate that good, and that's it. Alright, this looks really good. I can't show it to you because it's really, really hot. Okay, so I've got I even have 2 different kinds. I did not plan for this. So I've got my Tuttoroso crushed tomato with basil. And these are steam sealed, it says. Okay, let's add that. Make sure you get all the goodies out of there. And it's only calling for 2 cans of 2 28-ounce cans, okay? And my other one was I can never pronounce this, contadina crushed red. Doesn't matter. They're all the same. San Marzano tomatoes are the best, and that's why I usually get the whole plum peeled, but I forgot to pick them up. Okay, so let's mix all this together, all this goodness together. There we go. I'm going to add my salt and pepper. Again, 2 teaspoons of salt. Instead of a pinch of pepper, I did about, I don't know, a little less than half a teaspoon of pepper, because you want it to have flavor, right? And you can always add more if it doesn't taste strong enough for you. but it's the heavy cream that really gives it the kick. Okay, and where was it? They also added some grated Parmesan cheese at the end for some more flavor. And then once you plate your pasta with the sauce, you can add more Parmesan cheese. Okay. So now we're going to lower this super low. There we go. Super low. I'm going to put the lid on it. We're going to let it cook for, I would say, let's just let it cook for like 30 minutes and leave it with a little opening so that the steam can get out. And then if it looks like it needs more, we can always add more. And then come back like every, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, stir it up. We're gonna add, let's see, what did they say? They say to start with a 1/4 cup to a cup of heavy cream. I like a cup because I know it's going to need it, because it's a decent amount, but you'll see it as you're pouring it in, it's gonna start lightening up, okay? So once it gets to the shade of pink-ish that you like, stop. You don't have to add all of the heavy cream if you don't want to. All right, I'm gonna leave this. I will do a part 2. I'll break out my immersion blender. I'll get my heavy cream ready, and then we'll come back and we'll finish this up. But pretty much done, super easy. I'm gonna turn the fan on because it's very hot in here. So if you want this recipe, let me know. Be sure to let me know if you're watching live or on replay, and what's your favorite sauce? I'd love to hear it. And if it's not something we've made, maybe we'll make it. All right, have a great day. Talk to you in a little bit. Bye. All right, half hour is gone by. Let's do part 2. I'm gonna take this lid off and set it down somewhere. It's very, very hot. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I have my immersion blender plugged in. I don't know if you have one of these, but they are really super handy. This one is not the Pampered Chef one. I think they discontinued it from our line, but I'm not sure. So look if you're interested, but I've had this one for like 20 years now. It's, I think it's a Cuisinart. So I like to go low. All you do, you submerge it into your pot, but watch because it's going to splatter, so you're going to do it very carefully, okay? I just want to go here. And all this does is smooth the sauce out, okay? And you want to submerge it down, because if you try going from the top, it's just going to splatter up, okay? This will help break up all of the onions and garlic into smaller pieces, so it won't be so chunky. And you don't need to do it a lot, but you'll see it when it gets to the consistency you like. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can move you closer over this. Not that it's doing anything exciting, but if you want to see it, let's see. There you go. I hope that's a better view for you. All right, let's bring that up. It's pretty much done. You're not going to get it to be too fine. I could do it higher, but I don't want to make a mess. And if you don't have an immersion blender, you could scoop this into a food processor or a blender. Or if you like it chunky, leave it chunky, but we like this one smoother. So there's a blade here. I don't know if you can see that at the very bottom. And all it's doing is it's kind of crushing up everything in the pot, and it kind of makes a suction, so you might have to stop it and start it again. I think that's looking great, so I'm going to stop there. Get this off of my pot, and then we're going to go and do the last part. So actually, they tell you to put the the basil in and do the blender. So let me just do it one more time just to make sure that's incorporated. And this is the only fresh herbs that you'll have in there. At the very end, if you want to put more dried oregano, you can. And you probably want to use an apron while you're doing this, because sometimes things go flying. Alright, I think that looks good. So we'll take that out. Now we have our heavy cream. I'm going to use the spoon and just do a little bit at a time and mix it in. And you'll start seeing the sauce get lighter and lighter. Then you'll want to taste it and see if you need to add more salt and pepper. Okay? I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. I'll probably end up using, I actually only have 3/4 a cup because I ran out of heavy cream. Alright, but it is getting much lighter. See the color of it? And this will add a nice richness to it too. But if you're watching calories, I mean, you're not going to eat this whole pot, right? Or are you? Alrighty. I think that's plenty. So that is probably a little more than a 1/2 cup I ended up putting in. Okay, and let's taste it. And this is my favorite sauce. I don't know why, but it is. Okay, let's put some pepper. This is fresh pepper and some salt. Now when you go and make your pasta, you want to salt it heavily. That'll add more flavor to the pasta. About 2 tablespoons of salt. You know, it'll rinse off. You're not going to be eating all that You're not going to be eating all that salt, but it'll flavor up your pasta very nicely. And look at that. Perfect vodka sauce. So this will be ready to go. I'm going to leave this covered on my stove here, and then I'll just heat it up when we're ready to eat. So that's pretty much it. Super, super easy. You think you'll make this? Alright, I will talk to you soon. I'm gonna go finish my laundry and put a cover on this, and I'm gonna shut the heat off because we don't need to cook it any longer. I think it's thickened up nicely. Alright, have a good one. Bye.